Hey y'all, good morning. I need coffee so bad today. So I don't have anywhere to go, but I'm trying to not take a nap today. So if I have makeup on, I'll be less likely to take a nap. So I figured I would hop on, and I'm gonna try to apply the foundation with a brush. I don't have the Savvy brush, but I have one that, to me, from the photos that I've seen, is very similar to this one. It's an $8 e.l.f. brush. So I'm gonna try it with this brush, and I'm also going to try the primer. I have the mattifying primer. If you watched my first impressions video, the foundation pretty much immediately pooled in the little crevice in my chin and around my nose. So I'm gonna try the primer in those spots to see if it will help to keep that from happening, also with the brush. The other thing that I did differently is yesterday I put on my moisturizer, I did my routine exactly how I would normally do it, how I've been doing it with the liquid makeup that I'm using right now. And so I put my moisturizer on, I dried my hair, and then I applied some eye makeup, and then I applied the foundation. So it had maybe 15 minutes or so to sink into my skin. Instead, I put my moisturizer on as soon as I woke up this morning, so it's been on my face for a couple of hours. So it's not going to be, my skin isn't going to be as emollient as it was previously, and that might help as well. But other than the pooling issue, which again could have been because of my moisturizer, my moisturizer might just be a little too heavy for underneath this makeup. So we're going to try to eliminate that as a factor. But other than that, I really loved the color. The coverage was good. I wouldn't call this full coverage, but it's definitely a good medium to full. Like, you can get it close. I was able to build fairly well with the sponge. I felt like it was, when I'd have to go over spots, it was kind of lifting a little bit. So again, that could have been because of the moisturizer. So we're gonna figure it out. Other than that issue that I was having with it pooling, I'm really surprised and happy with everything else about the foundation. So we're gonna see if we can fix those other issues and go from there. So I've just put a pump and a half, I guess, on my palette. Dry brush. I have to put the primer on. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of the primer, and I'm going to put it a little bit around my nose, and I'm just going to do my whole chin just for chuckles, making sure to get it in that little chin dimple thing that I have going on there. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on my nose, my whole nose, because my nose tends to be a problem area. Now I'm going to have to be looking in my mirror here a lot because I don't have my contacts in and I can't see. So, okay, so I've just got some on the brush. I'm trying not to overload it, and I'm going to get going. I'm going to tap it around the center and then buff it out and see how that goes. Again, I'm having to lean in here to see in my mirror. So sorry about so much face in your face. All right. I don't tend to use a brush in general in life, but some foundations just work better with a brush than they do with a sponge. Okay, so just off the bat there, just that little center portion of my face. Happy with the coverage that I'm getting. One of the things that happens, which is happening here, which is why I don't use a brush, is because on my nose and my chin, which are my oilier spots, and they tend to be kind of porish, it tends to get some texture with a brush. But I'm trying my best to smooth that out without it going cakey, because that's another thing that happens. with a brush, not unique to this foundation at all. It's just my face. So I may have to still use a sponge in those spots. I'm going to go ahead and dampen my sponge just in case I need to. Sometimes it'll settle down when it sits for a minute. Sometimes it won't. So we'll see. I've got the sponge at the ready. Let's do the rest of my face. So I'm still going on that same like kind of pump and a half. And you can see the coverage there is about a medium, I would say. You can still see some of my redness, but it's definitely knocked down. I don't normally put foundation on my eyes, but I'm not really doing any other makeup today. So, okay, so I'm out. My palette is empty, so I'm going to do one more pump. Not even a full pump, because I don't want to waste foundation. And now I'm just going to kind of finish out the outsides of my face, but I'm also going to build up the coverage over my cheeks a little bit more. So I'm just going to dot it in those spots and then buff out. I'm trying to avoid my nose and my chin right now because I want to let it sit a second and see if it settles down. You can also stipple with the brush over areas where you need a little bit more coverage. Yeah, this is, again, this is an $8, this isn't the Savvy brush, this is an $8 e.l.f. brush. I bought it to use with the powder foundation, and I didn't like it with the powder foundation, but it's a really nice brush, especially for $8. Can't really go wrong with that. Okay. So the nose and the chin have not settled down, so I need a little bit more foundation. Actually, I might go over those a little bit with the concealer. Just put a couple of little dabs on my palette, and I'm gonna go in with the sponge, pick that up, and see if that helps. Yeah, that definitely helped. Okay, so the other thing that I had, the other issue that I had was with the concealer. I put it on, again, I did everything yesterday how I would normally do it, that's kind of the baseline, and we're gonna build from there. So I put on my cream under my eyes, again, when I put on my moisturizer, and initially it went on, I applied it with a sponge, and initially it went on great, and I didn't have any complaints, but then it started settling into the fine lines around my eyes, and within like 15-20 minutes, I looked like 15-20 years older under my eyes. So I'm gonna try a little bit of a different application. I put on my eye cream, again, when I put on my moisturizer about 2 hours ago. So it has nice and settled in. But I am going to, instead of using the sponge, I'm going to try to use a brush. So let me find my little concealer brush here. And I'm going to use a little bit less as well. So I'm just putting it kind of a few dots on the outer edge of where the darkness is on my eyes. And I've got a brush, it's dry, I haven't sprayed it with anything. And I'm just going to lightly buff it. I'm also going to not set it, because I set it with the powder foundation, and that could have contributed as well. So we're going to go just straight concealer and leave it and see how it do. But I'm definitely going to need a little bit more concealer, because y'all, I have not been sleeping well. My nephew is living with me, and he works at a restaurant, and so he doesn't drive yet, and he works until like midnight sometimes, and so I have to go pick him up and then still get up and go to work in the morning. So okay, so I've just applied another light layer of the concealer. It's not perfect coverage, but I'm not going anywhere, so we're just going to leave it, because I just want to see how it does once the eye cream has settled in, and I haven't set it or anything. So just looking at it right here, right now, other than my under eye, which definitely needs a little bit more help, but we're just gonna go with it. Everything else looks good. Got a lot of comments about the shininess of this. I just wanna turn off the light real quick. I can't really read comments. I can't really read comments because I don't have my glasses on. So I'm gonna turn off the lights. It's a little bit dark, but you can still see it's a very dewy foundation. It's very dewy. Now I did set the foundation last night with the warm one, and that worked really, really well, except for under my eyes. So I'm going to do that again. And again, I'm going to use Alejandro because I want a very, very light dusting of this. Because it will add coverage as well, and it will mattify. So I'm going to actually go over my forehead a little bit, which I didn't last night. I like a dewy foundation, but this is very dewy, and I can understand how some people would not like that at all. So this is definitely a solution to tone down the dew. Now I'm gonna leave it on these high planes on my face, but I am gonna go over my cheeks a tiny bit and over my chin. Okay. So it built up the coverage a little bit and it toned down. Again, the lights are deceptive, but it toned down, you can see now, it toned down the dew. So that's good. And I'm oily, so I'm gonna get shiny. That's just the way that it goes. I'm still getting pooling there and there. So the primer didn't really help that. But I am going to go over that with a little bit of the foundation. And it didn't make it go away, but it did minimize it a little bit. So we're going to go right in there. Christy Parker posted a comment last night, and she said that she put powder foundation over those hot spots for her on her face, and that helped. So I may try that instead of the primer. Just take this little brush and sweep over those real quick the next time. But I wanted to rule out my moisturizer as the culprit, and I think I've effectively done that because it immediately went right into those same spots again. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working with it because other than this and this, I like it. If it lasts on me all day, I like it. Now I have been using a setting spray as well, so, and I do that with all of my foundations. So I'm gonna do that. This is one that I bought at, in my eyeball. This is one that I bought at the store, but I am going to work on a DIY version because I think it's a fairly easy product to DIY. And somebody actually shared a recipe already that's similar to the one that I have. So if you don't want to wait for me and try that one, go for it. But I'm going to leave this on throughout the day and see how it wears and see how the under eyes do without being set. I'm actually, since I want to make sure that I don't like do something that I can't duplicate, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, like, I'm gonna add more concealer because I would not go out in public with my under eyes looking like this. And if I can't use it and get the coverage that I need without it going weird on me, then what's the point, right? I'm saying, well, if I only put a little bit and I still look like I have eye bags, it's fine. It's not fine because it's not concealer, right? And this is not a bash on this concealer by itself. It's just how it's working on my face, just to be clear. Finding a concealer is probably one of the most challenging makeup struggles, especially if you're over 30, because not every formula works on everybody. You know, everybody's skin is different. Everybody's reacts to product differently. And so, so in general, finding a concealer that works, I mean, I've gone through, I can't even tell you how many different types of concealer, trying to find one that works for my face. So this is not a knock on this. I'm sure that there are several people, many people, who are going to try this and think this is the best thing ever, you know, and that's awesome. I'm just struggling on my face, so just keep that in mind too. Just because it's not working immediately perfectly for me doesn't mean that it won't for you, because concealer is tricky like that. So but they're looking good right now, so we'll see. We'll see. I will definitely update you. I don't know that I'll do another video. I might, who knows, but I'll definitely at least do a post or something later. We'll just have to see how the day goes. But anyway, I'm looking at it right now. Putting the foundation over the top definitely did help minimize the pooling, at least within the last couple minutes. So we'll see how that holds up over the day. And yeah, I think it looks great, even with the dewiness. I know not everybody likes the dew, so I'm going to turn the light off just so you can see the final. Again, it's kind of dark, so it's not the best view, but you get a better idea of the shine level, because I think that that's a concern for a lot of folks. I like it. And putting the powder foundation over it definitely helps tamp down some of the dew if that's not your jam. So, okay, I'm done talking. I'm going to go and go back to work and do all of the things. So I hope y'all have an awesome day, and I'll keep y'all posted. Bye. Hey y'all. So it's been about 3.5 hours since I've been wearing this makeup for application trial number 2. And just to kind of summarize, I applied the foundation and the concealer yesterday as I normally would any other liquid foundation, just as a kind of a baseline to see how it worked and what I might need to adjust for these particular formulas. And so I put on my moisturizer, I dried my hair, I put on some eye makeup, and then I applied my foundation with a beauty sponge. I didn't use any primer or anything. And then I set the hot spots for me, which would be my nose, my chin, and my under eye area, with some of the powder foundation, and then I set it with setting spray. That is my standard routine. And almost immediately, the foundation pooled around my nose and in the dimple in my chin, and that never happens. And I thought perhaps it was my moisturizer's fault, that it was just a little too emollient for this format of, or this formula of foundation. So today I wanted to try applying it with a brush, because I have this e.l.f. brush that appears to me to be very similar to the Savvy brush, which I do not have yet. It was out of stock when I ordered my stuff. And I also wanted to try the primer around my nose and on my chin to see if that helped with the pooling issue. The other thing that I wanted to do, since I thought perhaps the moisturizer was to blame, was I put on my moisturizer as soon as I woke up in the morning, and then I had my breakfast and did a little bit of work. And then like an hour and a half later, I came and sat down here and put the makeup on. So it had plenty of time to soak into my skin and not affect the foundation. So when I applied it, one thing that I noticed was, and this is typical of any liquid foundation on my face, is when I apply it with a brush, I get weird texture on my nose and my chin because I'm oily and they're more porous than other areas of my face. So I went over it with the sponge to kind of smooth some of that out. it immediately pulled into the areas around my nose and my chin, so it wasn't the moisturizer's fault. And the primer didn't help that situation. I also set everything except my under eye with the powder foundation to take down a little bit of the dewiness and provide a tiny bit more coverage. And what else? I didn't do anything else different. And so, like I said, it's been like 3 hours. I was wearing glasses, so there has been a little bit of shifting of the foundation. Again, not a unique to Savvy thing. That is just the nature of liquid makeup. Oh, one more thing I wanted to notice. I think I mentioned this already. I didn't set my under eye area with the powder because when I did that yesterday, it aged me like 15 years. Everything just sunk into every little line and texture in my skin under my eyes, and it was not attractive. So I applied it without setting it this time. So I think that's the rundown of everything that I did different this time. Now let's take a look. Other than it not oxidizing, it looks pretty good. I'm super happy with the level of glow that I'm getting from the foundation. I am a glowy, dewy foundation kind of person. I did set my nose on my chin and a little bit on my forehead this time because it was a little bit extra shiny on my forehead yesterday. And it still looks very, very nice. Like, I am not mad at it at all. It's a healthy glow to me. I like that. I don't like matte foundation. My under eyes still need a bit more coverage than what I was able to achieve, because I was being very cautious about not putting too much there, but I'm gonna try a little bit more next time. But as far as it sinking in and stuff, it has not done that at all to the degree that that it did yesterday. I'm still seeing a little bit kind of going in there. I don't know if you can see that, especially on this side. It's definitely kind of soaking in there. Now my eyes are extra tired today, so that's an issue too. But it is kind of like wanting to start hanging out in all the little fine lines down there. But it looks way better without being set. So so I'm gonna try to increase the coverage next time and see how it does. My nose is doing the texture thing, but again, that's just my face. But it's not terrible. I'm not mad at it at all, so that's fine. But I am definitely still pooling. I don't know if you can see that, but you can definitely see that. It's still pooling. So the primer didn't help. Setting it with powder didn't help. In yesterday's video, Christy Parker suggested setting those areas first with powder and then going over with your foundation. So I'm gonna try that because it wouldn't take any more time to do that than it would to put primer there. So I'm gonna give that a shot next go round and see how it does. But overall, I like the finish. I like the coverage that I was able to achieve. I like the glowiness of it. I like that it didn't oxidize on my skin, so that's really good. And it doesn't feel like anything on my face. That was one of the things that I loved about the Savvy powder, even though I had to like go through some processes to get the coverage that I needed on my face and use a primer, which wasn't really a primer, but that priming step, which was emollient, and then applying multiple layers of powder to my face to achieve the coverage that I needed. I still never felt like I had a lot of makeup on, even though I was using a lot of product. So I really love that, and this foundation feels very similar to me on my skin. So yeah, if I can figure out this pooling situation, I will definitely continue to use this. The concealer, the struggle continues. So we'll see how it goes. And again, I said this in my previous video, this struggle is not unique to Savvy Concealer. This is just the struggle of finding concealer when you're over 30. Because not every formula works for everybody. And I mean, I probably tried like 3 or 4 different concealers before I found one that I could use. So in regular brands. So this is not a knock on Savvy at all. This is just, it's just how concealer is. So yeah. So there we go. That's my thoughts. This was much better than yesterday. I still like applying with the sponge and setting it with the powder in general. I definitely I probably would at least do like the center of my face with this, just because the brush tends to give me weird texture. Again, just my face. The brush will probably work fine for most other people. But yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm gonna say it. If I can just get this dealt with, I will continue to wear it. So next round, I am going to, what am I gonna do differently? I'm gonna try setting this area with the powder foundation first. I'm gonna try building the coverage of the concealer there and see how it does. And maybe set one eye with like the veil or something, and see the matte veil and see how that works, if that works better than the foundation. And yeah, I think that's really the only things that I'm going to try differently next time. So stay tuned for that. Thank y'all for sticking with these updates. I hope that it was helpful for you. If you have any questions, as always, you can pop them down in the comment section. If this video was helpful for you, show me some love. And yeah, that's it. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.